Oh, going back to like the 2015 R1, like I said, that was a pretty simple, like I think the super stock rules, we couldn't do a lot with the motor or the chassis or the electronics, it was a lot of just getting geometry and suspension and stuff right. And for me, that bike coming from an R6 to an R1 was like just the perfect transition, because the chassis kind of really had a similar feel, the bike was still really nimble, just had a lot more power. So just figuring out how to utilize that. But now off the showroom floor, I don't know how much they've changed, as far as chassis and all that. I think a lot of it is pretty similar, but obviously, the Attack Yamaha we have now has quite a bit more power than the super stock one had. We have more electronic capabilities with traction control, wheelie control, and engine braking, and all the different strategies. That's a lot more complicated, and that takes time to kind of learn and wrap your head around, working with that and seeing how to get it better. And of course, some different chassis stuff compared to the stock bike. We got, Attack makes really great swing arms that have helped us. Triple clamps, Attack triple clamps, so we could change offset and do a lot more with geometry and stuff like that.
Do you lean heavily on changing the geometry, or do you lean more on the electronics, or both?
With my experience with the R1, like we always want to experiment with geometries and ride height and different rate biased, but once we're in kind of a pretty good sweet spot geometry wise, even the last couple of years, we don't really have to make any big changes from there, from racetrack to racetrack. A lot of it might just be kind of more suspension changes and stuff like that. And that's a nice part, I think, about the R1 that's helped us. Our track, there's a lot of different type of tracks in the US, but once we kind of have that geometry that I like and that feels good for me, and I get the feedback that I want, we can kind of bring it anywhere, and we don't have to change much racetrack to racetrack. A couple clickers here, some valving maybe, and then from there, just different electronic strategies and stuff like that. So
it has the slide control.
I don't think it works like the slide control that you get on the stock R1s, because we have the Morelli system, Magneti Morelli stuff on our Attack Yamahas, and it's pretty amazing, how that technology has come along. You can even, because you can change stuff turn to turn. I could have, if I want to slide more in turn 2 and less in turn 5, we can make those adjustments, turn by turn, and really kind of, at the same time, it is really cool. But in the beginning, it can be a bit confusing. You don't want to stress about having like all this perfect electronic settings and forget about actually riding the bike. It's kind of the same thing. Once we're in a sweet spot of how much wheel spin we're comfortable with, how much engine brake kind of force we want, it doesn't change a whole lot, racetrack to racetrack, once we're in that kind of box.
When you go out of a corner, do you open it immediately all the way and ride against the TC, or do you try to be smooth when you open the throttle and just rely on the mechanical grip and just slightly slide into the TC area?
Yeah, I think that's definitely, just because there's some great TC, it doesn't mean you can go in there and slap the throttle open. Like, you'll land on your head still, for sure, no matter how good the TC is. But so there's still, if you could see our throttle lines in our data, there's still a lot of manipulating the throttle depending on how much you're sliding the bike. The biggest thing that it helps with is coming off the turn does not overspinning the tires. We want to kind of keep it in that perfect amount of spin where we're going forward, but still being able to get the steering that we want kind of out of the turn. So yeah, being able to kind of play with that and how much spin we actually want. And nowadays too, it is lean angle based, so we can have a little bit more at full lean. You still got to be careful with the throttle, but and it's one of those things too, like we could have a lot or a little, but the most important thing is like at the rider, just he knows what it's going to do. So I know what the bike's going to do. I have a good connection with the throttle after riding it for these last couple of years, that I'm really confident in how much throttle I can apply at full lean, or how I got to use the throttle to keep it spinning or to try to stop it from spinning. So I think like I said, it's just kind of making sure that the rider understands like what's going to happen underneath them when they do this or that.